What was that? What did we just witness? I was beside myself and still kind of am. I'm glad I had a car ride home to cool down. But I did not make that an enjoyable viewing experience for those who I watched it with. That was atrocious. That was embarrassing. That was a championship caliber team beating the Edmonton Oilers. Again. Let's go back to game 3. Atrocious. Oh my gosh, even worse than this game. This was like a lighter version of what we saw in game 3. But what was the message for a lot of this Oilers run? A lot of this Oilers, this core team, the message is very similar. One of the more common messages that I'm literally babbling like a buffoon because I'm so distraught. But what was the message after game 3? A message we've heard a lot is how I will put it with this core group. With this team, they need to start better. They need to have a better start. And game 3 was horrible for so many reasons. But game 4, I thought, okay, they'll learn their lesson. They'll come back with a better start. And I mourned them after the first period. And I said to those who I watched in game 4, I said, this series is over. This series is over. The Edmonton Oilers preached we need better starts. They have another horrible start. Now they're down 3-0. They pull off a truly miraculous comeback in game 4 on the road. You were not going to do that again. The Oilers just gave the Florida Panthers in this game 5 another chance to learn how to lock down the lead. And that's, you can't keep beating the same teams the same way. Especially when you're doing it by multi-goal comebacks. That is not a recipe for success. It's never been a recipe for success. Now, the angel on my shoulder is saying it could be a recipe for success for another couple games, and who cares? If you win the cup, who cares? And if the Oilers were to come back after that, and the first period was not atrocious. It wasn't as bad as the other first periods, but it progressively, you saw that the Oilers were just not ready. They were not ready. The Edmonton Oilers had a few good shifts. The Panthers had a few good shifts, but it is the Florida Panthers who break through first. Brad Marchand scores. Okay. You can come back from one. A lot of teams can come back from one. This is fine for the Edmonton Oilers. This is a system that is not a recipe for success, but they have found success with this system by not scoring first. And it's only one goal. You just came back from 3 goals. This is only one goal. And then the wheels absolutely fall off when the Oilers get a power play towards the end of that period, down by a goal. You're thinking, okay, this is your chance. You get your power play. Let's bury it. And I am not going to exaggerate or hyperbolate here more than my normal fandom forces me to. But that power play that we saw at the end of the first period was disgraceful. It was disgusting. It was unapologetically lazy. And it was not the way a championship team seizes an opportunity on home ice. And this is the part that enrages me. This is the biggest home game that's being played in front of one of the most raucous, insane hockey crowds since 1990. You cannot argue otherwise. You cannot argue otherwise. This was a chance for the Edmonton Oilers to go up in the Stanley Cup final, something that they have not done since 1990 and earlier in Game 1, to have a lead in the Stanley Cup final. This was a huge opportunity for the Oilers on home ice. And yeah, it was a back and forth. You give up the first goal, that's okay. You can push back. And that power play was flat-footed, lazy skating. No, I said earlier, I think the Oilers' determination from getting 15 wins last year is going to be the Florida Panthers' downfall. The Florida Panthers have proven in this series that when the Oilers go pedal to the metal, gas, they will be beat. But the Florida Panthers have also proven that they're going to keep their level here. And then for most of this series, it has felt like, and particularly for the past 3 games, the Oilers had a huge comeback because they pushed and they actually asserted their will and they made it go like this. That's what happened. And when the Oilers push, boom, the Panthers were down. Gave up 4 unanswered goals. The Panthers end up forcing that overtime, and then the overtime was crazy and the Oilers get a bounce. But for that 20-minute plus period where the Oilers were actually good in game 4, you could see, the Oilers can be the better team. The Oilers do have what it takes to be the better team. I see my auto exposure is screwing up my green screen. I don't know how to turn it off. That's just another thing that's ticking me off. Anyway. But the Florida Panthers keep it here. And this is what the championship team does. They keep it here. And they go, okay, you can push. That's fine. You can push. We'll give up 4 unanswered. But we're going to keep it here. And the moment you lay off that gas, we're bouncing right back. And the Florida Panthers, day in, day out, series in, series out. I mean no disrespect, but the Edmonton Oilers looked like the Lightning from the first round. They looked like the Maple Leafs in the second round, and they looked like the Hurricanes did in the third round. That's what this is. No different than how the Florida Panthers beat the other teams. No different. The Oilers have proven minimal extra challenge up until this point in the series. That power play is where the game ended. It ended there. In the first period, again, the Oilers choke in the first period. They're not choke artists in the third. They're not giving up a big bunch of leads. No, they barely get leads. But they have choked in the first period of this Stanley Cup final as a collective. They showed the stats. I won't put them on here because I don't have time when I'm editing this. But if you watch the telecast, they showed you the first period stats. And I don't know what you blame at that point. The first gut check is that's the coach's job. It's the coach's job to get the players ready. I'm not saying Knobloch is a bad. I don't even know if that's what we need to be saying right now. But what I do know is that it's unacceptable for a championship caliber team to perform like that. You're not going to win the Stanley Cup with a -20 goal differential in the first period. And that power play was so bad. So bad. And then what happens after? The momentum earned. The Panthers score 2-0 going into the second. That was the angriest I think I got all night. Because I knew the same way I felt when you're down 3-0 in game 4. It's like, really? Do you know how hard it is to score a goal? Just because the Panthers are making it look pretty easy right now doesn't mean it's easy. And they're not going to let their foot off the gas. You're going to have to push that foot off the gas. The Florida Panthers have had a couple, maybe a handful of shifts, a handful of periods where you're like, well, the Oilers are pushing, but also the Panthers have made a couple mistakes here. And the Oilers have they found a way to execute on it. It hasn't been the Oilers asserting their will. The Florida Panthers have had large chunks of hockey games where they have been playing their game, getting in on the forecheck. The Oilers were flat-footed. They were floundering. They were pathetic. Second period comes around. 5 minutes in. Brad Marchand scores again. Sorry, that was all the way in the third period. Sorry, second period comes around. Then we're going to talk about that Brad Marchand goal. It was incredible. Second period goes around. Okay, Oilers down by 2. The second period has now proven my point of how hard it is to score. And I don't know what happened. There was a TV timeout partway through that second period. There was a TV timeout. And then maybe it was when the Oilers, did they get a power play? It was on one of their power plays, I think. One of those penalties. Could have been the delay of game 1. There was a noticeable difference after one of those TV timeouts, and the Oilers were moving their feet, and they were buzzing, and they were getting scoring chances, and there was on the power play, because I remember I was like, this is how your power play should look. They were cooking. It looked good. When that thing went off in my head, you're phonies. This team is a team of phony fakers. Because a championship team, you don't notice that. You don't notice partway through the second, oh, now they're playing. That's not how you win championships. And I'm glad the Edmonton Oilers aren't going to clown their way into a Stanley Cup victory by being fugazis, by being fakers, by being phonies, because they played like phonies tonight. And that's when you start to actually press 25, 30 minutes into Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final on home ice, you don't deserve the cup. You do not deserve the Stanley Cup. You don't. Because you have to play like that for a full 60. No excuses, man to man. You have to play like that for a full 60 minutes if you want to win the Stanley Cup. Obviously, I would have loved the Edmonton Oilers to play whoever it is in the final, and they sweep them, and maybe the Oilers don't even play their best game, but they're just playing against a team that doesn't have it anymore, whatever it is, whatever the story is. But the Oilers are going up against a tax-free dynasty right now. I won't get into all the politics of all the other reasons why I'm making up that I hate Florida. At the end of the day, this is a hockey game played on the ice, and the Oilers are not good enough. They are not good enough. Third period rolls around. Still down 2-0. I'm still holding out some hope here. Brad Marchand scores an incredible goal. Truly one of the best you may ever see in the Stanley Cup Final. Something that we have seen Connor McDavid attempt to do numerous times and fail. And fail. This is the best player in the world. And you know who's playing better than the best player in the world right now? Brad Marchand. Think about that. Think about what it takes to be a champion. Because the best player to possibly ever put on skates in terms of just skill and vision and the things that Connor McDavid can do in a skills competition will melt your brain. And the things he can do in the regular season will melt your brain. And the things he can do in the Stanley Cup playoffs will melt your brain. But the things that he's doing in this Stanley Cup final, listen, I am not about to become a Connor McDavid hater. All I'm saying is the Panthers, big players, made some big plays today. The Edmonton Oilers, big players, took some time off. They took some time off. And it's tough when you go down. It's tough when you go down. Because on that Brad Marchand goal, it was just after an icing. The Oilers, they put Wallman and they put Bouchard on the ice. They're looking for offense. And you know what? The Florida Panthers got that offense. When you're thinking offense and you don't prioritize defense, that's what can happen. And that usually doesn't happen the way it does. Brad Marchand, an absolute dagger, making it 3-0. But Connor McDavid finally scores a goal. Not that long after, a couple minutes after. And it was a nice one, but there's no celebration. I wasn't celebrating. Are you kidding me? The fans were cheering because they paid $1,500 to watch this game, up to $2,500 to watch this game. So they're cheering, they're hoping. What was it? The Edmonton Oilers had a sliver of hope, down 3-1 in the third period for less than a minute. This is the gosh darn Oilers special. Score a goal, give it up. This is scoring a goal, giving it up, or giving up 2 goals real quick in succession to one another, not being ready to start the game. These are all things that you would point to leadership group and coaching. All things. You'd say you need to coach better. I don't think this is Knobloch's pulling strings. Another reason that this kind of, I'm not saying this is Knobloch's loss of a series. All I'm saying is he may be outcoached. He may be being outcoached. Now you have to have the players doing the things that the players are doing in order for that to even happen. But the fact that what's the Oilers' top line? Let me ask you that. What's the Oilers' second line? What's their third line? What's their fourth line? We don't know. There is no line. There is no this is the top line. You got this guy and this guy playing really good together. Well, Nuge has been with Connor for a while, but that's not always the case. The only line that the Edmonton Oilers have where you go, that's their top line, is Draisaitl, McDavid, Zach Hyman. That's the only line. Everybody else is hodgepodge put together. Sometimes it's this guy, sometimes it's that guy. I'm not saying that's necessarily a good or a bad thing, but the Florida Panthers have a little bit more established. These are the guys we're throwing out there. You know where they're going to be. The Edmonton Oilers throughout the Stanley Cup final have not been playing as a team. They have not been playing together. Those stupid promos they have that just make me sad in between where it's all the, we got to go, we got to attack. It's all the montage of the coaches and Patrice Bergeron being like, we're going to do this together as a team. Like it's all the thing, right? Alex Ovechkin, we're doing it as a team. We're doing it as a team. We're doing it as a team. The Edmonton Oilers, and I loved this when they were talking about it when Toronto was eliminated. They said that's not a team, that's a group. They keep saying group because they keep saying, it's a good group. It's a good group. Now I see what's happening. I see what that feeling is. The Edmonton Oilers don't have a team. This is a group. They're playing like a group of players. I'm not saying they're selfish even. They're just not fully jived together the way that we have seen them go in the past. And obviously I'm upset. And it was just to put a performance like that on home ice in the Stanley Cup final is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And then the Oilers push. Do they ever? The classic Oilers, they push there at the end. And they push hard. They pull a goalie. They score a goal. They're only down by 2. Crazier. This would be the craziest thing that would have ever happened, honestly. And I'm not holding out hope. But when they score that second one, all I'm thinking is you had to give up 4, hey? You had to freaking give up 4. Because scoring 2 in the third period would have been a great story to tie it. But you shot yourself in the foot. 4 too many times this game. Do you want Pickard to make maybe 1 or 2 of those saves? Sure, maybe you do. Maybe you want his team to actually play well in front of him as well. The Edmonton Oilers had 11 shots through 2 periods. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. So here we go. Tuesday. Game 6 in Florida. The Stanley Cup will be there. And the Oilers are going to hope it comes back to Edmonton. I don't know if other Oilers fans are going to share this sentiment with me, but I'm not watching Game 6. No. I mean, I'll watch it. I'll watch it. But I'm not leaning in watching, pretending like I give a crap what happens in this game. This game, and this is crazy, we're in the exact same position we were in last year, except now the Oilers have home ice advantage. There's the only difference. But the Oilers are down 3-2 going into Game 6. Same thing that happened last year. Doesn't matter how we got here. You were supposed to be a better team, and you're not. You're not. You're getting beat in the same way by the same squad, and it's an embarrassing disgrace. This is atrocious performances in the last 3 games. But we're going to have a Game 6, and I do not care. I will not care. I hope they win. And like I said, I'll have it on maybe my phone with a little earbud, keeping tabs. Don't get me wrong. If it goes to overtime, I'm still going to freak out, good or bad. But I'm not planning a watch party for this. This game means nothing for the Edmonton Oilers. For the fans, for the players, it's everything. And the reason why it means nothing for the fans is Game 6 will either be an afterthought of an amazing Game 7 victory. It'll be a heartbreaker of an eventual Game 7 loss, or it'll be one of the saddest hockey games I'll ever witness, which will be the Edmonton Oilers losing in 6. After forcing 7 last year, they'll lose in 6 this year. The silver lining is that there is another game. The Edmonton Oilers can still win the Stanley Cup. My heart believes they will. From what I've seen, they will not. They will not. I have worked in hockey long enough, and I have watched hockey as a fan long enough to very slightly be able to separate what I think and what I feel. And yeah, before the series, I smushed those together. I said Oilers in 4 because you know what? I'm an Oiler fan. Let's go gung-ho. What are we doing here? But after watching what I've watched, no. This Oiler team is not a championship team. They will not win the Stanley Cup this year unless they just have to play an actual hockey game. How about this? How about for an entire 60 minutes, you actually skate as hard as you can? The amount of flat-footed, the breakout was garbage. They didn't have a breakout. It was horrible. The whole time the Oilers were playing like crap, it looked like a you take it, I got it. No, no, you, how about we, nobody wants to be the guy. It doesn't give a crap if you want to be the guy or not. You're the freaking guy now. It's like that meme with Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart. Are you in? Are you in or are you out? Well, I don't know. What is it about? It doesn't matter. Are you in or are you out? Well, I'm out. The Edmonton Oilers are Kevin Hart in that meme. They're Kevin Hart in that meme. And the Florida Panthers are the dude in the background, not giving a crap about that conversation because they already know they're all in. I can't believe the Florida Panthers are going to beat the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup final for 2 years in a row. Tip your cap to the Florida Panthers for pulling this off. I'm just mourning the team completely. Because the team that we watched will not win a champ. We need to see a different team for these next 2 games. Even the winning in overtime, even those games, they snuck those out. I didn't think they were going to do 4 of them like that. They still could. Who knows? You only got 2 games left. So it doesn't matter. But this video's been going off long enough, and I'm already just reeling with frustrations. So I think we should call it there. Remind you that this is a very new, small, rinky-dinky channel. After the Oilers season, who knows what I'll be talking about? Probably the Blue Jays. I'm calling some ball hockey tomorrow, so that'll take my mind off of it. And the ice hockey off season, I'll be calling some ball hockey. So maybe on this channel, I'll post a little highlight pack of that. It should be ridiculous. I'm just gonna have to try and clear my head and remember that I have other things going on. You know, I get to do play-by-play for a media company. I get to work for a very prestigious athletics program at the University of Alberta in their sports world. I have a lot of cool things going on in my life. One of the really cool things would have been the Edmonton Oilers, a chance to win the Stanley Cup on Tuesday. But that did not happen. So this is our reality. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next one. Possibly the last one of these. Disgraceful, embarrassing. I'm disgusted. Like and subscribe. See ya.